Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hi guys, happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well. I've had several episodes on other people's podcasts released this week. So check that shit out. I have posted on social media. Be cool. Go support those other people's shows because they're amazing. And also, I'm a super fab guest, and you're going to want to hear all the shit that you hear on my show, but on someone else's show. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, doing really well. Hope you guys are too. Happy Aries season. You know, Mama's an Aries rising, so hello, all the good things. Okay, so today's guest is Kevin Palmieri. You're going to hear the words Next Level University a few times coming up on this show because I didn't even realize, but I have either scheduled or already recorded with two people who work for or around or with Next Level University. I'll include some links and shit in the show notes for you to go investigate that. Sounds like a super rad, situation. But today is the first of the three that I've had so far, and his name is Kevin Palmieri. Welcome, Kevin Palmieri. He is the CSO, founder, and host of Next Level University, a global top 100 self-improvement podcast with more than 2,000 episodes, reaching over 1 million people in more than 175 countries. Basically, Kevin's he's like another luminary. He went through some really dark shit. I guess I'll throw a sensitive content warning in. I don't think we even use the word suicide, but we allude to some ideation and whatnot. So funny enough, we have similar stories in that he had his dark night and then decided to go all in on his dreams of being a full-time podcaster and entrepreneur. And as you know, I have done the same. So he believes in a heart-driven but no BS approach to holistic self-improvement and teaching others how to get to the next level of their lives. So I guess that's probably as good of an intro as any, yeah? Did I say he has... Oh, shit, here's some more shit about Kevin. You know, usually I'll just be telling y'all how much I love the guest, but he actually has a profile to work with here, so... I mean, I did love him, I do. But, okay, 2 global top 100 podcasts, 2,000 plus episodes, 1 million plus listens, over $1 million in revenue in 175 plus countries. He's also a podcast coach. He's guested on over 950 podcasts. 252 5-star ratings as a Podmatch guest. Not real surprised. That's how I met Kevin, was on Podmatch, and we vibed. So I wasn't surprised in hindsight to learn that he worked with the second person that I had on. The third is tomorrow that I'm recording with, but because the second was a girl and we were like siblings, basically. I don't know, super connected. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna shut the fuck up. So anyway, me and Kevin, we vibed. It was a really good time. Felt very aligned, and another confirmation that the universe delivers what you ask it for, and I asked it to send the people in alignment with me. So that's it. All right, enjoy me and Kevin.
Emotionally unavailable.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, living the dream, some would say.
Yeah, is it your dream?
Most of the time. Other times it's my nightmare, but most of the time it's my dream.
Well, there you go. All right, as long as it's your dream. I used to
It
say
is.
that all the time because I'd be like, well, I don't have anything positive to say, so I'll just say living the dream. And then someone's like, whose dream is it? Because it doesn't seem like yours. And I was like, oh, Called out. Thank
Shots
you.
fired. Shots
Yeah,
fired.
exactly. I feel a little attacked, but all right. Thank you for your honesty, I guess. My earphones are kind of like agitating me because I feel like for the last 2 days I hear myself much better than normal, and I don't know if that's normal, so whatevs.
Okay.
I don't usually like read off the shit, but you got a lot going on here, so I'm just gonna say, Kevin, CSO founder, host of Next Level University, global top 100 podcast with over 1,900 episodes. That's fucking nuts to me. In 175 countries. Like, I suck at geography, so to me, I'm like, damn, I didn't even know there were that many countries.
Same.
Podcast coach, guest on 900 podcasts plus 900 plus 200 plus 5-star ratings. I mean, hello. So that's cool.
You don't have to read any. You read whatever you want. Like, I don't. The world does not revolve around me, so do whatever is easiest for you. I don't care.
I was just like, damn, that's a lot of shit. So
Well,
I don't want to. I don't
appreciate
want to be like. I probably shouldn't put so much thought into shit like this, but I was just sitting here and I was like, well, you know, I want to acknowledge your accomplishments, but like, I don't want it to come off like, what is that? Fuck, my brain's not working very well. Like how people try to like make you smaller because like they're intimidated or whatever.
Yeah,
so I'm like, I don't want to be that guy either. Like, yeah, you've done a lot of shit. Great. That's great. But okay, so I will tell you this. I'm not like a canned interview person. And I was reading your bio part and I was like, ooh, yeah, I can resonate with that, with like hitting rock bottom and finding out that rock bottom has a basement. I was like, oh, I like that line because fuck yes, it does. It sure does. And it hurts your damn feelings so bad. So what brought you here? Like, what is that backstory?
Yeah, so I am somebody who had very, very humble / not so good beginnings. So raised by my mom and my grandmother, didn't know my dad, didn't meet my dad with the understanding that he was my father until I was 27.
Oh, wow.
So in childhood, I don't think there was a lot of hope for me. It was kind of like my family was broken. A lot of my family had been in trouble with the law over the years. So there wasn't exactly a path to success for me, Melissa. We'll put it that way. So outside of that, my childhood was fairly normal, I guess, all things considered.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever normal means.
I get it.
In high school, I decided that I didn't want to go to college because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it just didn't make sense to pay however many thousands of dollars to try to figure it out.
Right. And how old are you?
Right now, I'm 35.
Okay. Just check.
I had to think for a second because
me too. Yeah.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I said, well, I'm just going to get a job and I'll just start trying to make money. So I got a job at a gas station. That was my first job. After that, I was a personal trainer, truck driver, forklift operator, tiling, on-call firefighter, many, many, many things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always chasing that thing that I thought would make me feel good about me.
Yeah.
That was it. So if we fast forward to when I was 25, my girlfriend at the time was a model. I was getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding show, so I was quite literally in the best shape I will ever be in. I had a job where I was making close to 6 figures, nice car, new apartment, all of that stuff. And I thought that I was supposed to be happy. Mm-hmm. I assumed that all of those keys were going to unlock all these doors that I needed to open. And that wasn't the case. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was self-conscious. My girlfriend at the time sat me down one day and said, hey, I want to move from New Hampshire to California to chase my dreams. And in all of my insecurity, I gave her every reason under the sun why she shouldn't do it.
Right.
So she left me, as she should have.
She was like, okay, bye.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. And she should have. I was dulling her light. I was dimming her light. And that's a regret that I have. That was my initial rock bottom. When she left, I felt like a broken man, and who could ever possibly love this version of me? I can't imagine anybody ever would. I sat in the darkness for a little bit there, and then I fell back into the same trap of, you know what, I just haven't made enough money yet. I think that must be the problem is I got to get past a certain threshold. So the next year starts, and I ended up spending 10 months out of the next year living on the road because our contracts were in other states. So I was traveling a lot for work. But again, I felt good doing it because I thought I was getting closer to my goals. And ultimately fulfillment, happiness, and
Oh, sure. Yeah.
evolution, right?
Like, that's the destination right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm making meaningful progress. At the end of the year, I'm going to be a new version of Kev. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I get to the end of the year. I open up my final pay stub. I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree. Bank account was different. I was no different. I felt no more confident. I had no more self-worth, no more self-belief. Nothing changed in me. Realized that for most of my life, I had lived unconsciously. No idea why the hell I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of unconscious is hyperconscious. So in 2017, I started a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Oh, how cool.
That's where this all started. I fell in love with podcasting, but as you know, in the beginning, there is not a line out the door of people that say, Melissa, this is a great idea. How much money do you need?
Right. They're like, God, just getting a fucking guest at first. Was like,
I know.
I released 3 episodes a week, and I was like, hey, neighbor, sit down with me here.
Well, yeah. So same. I fell in love with podcasting, but I had to keep going to this job that I just started to hate. When the job, when I did the job, it was about making money.
Mm-hmm.
When I realized money wasn't the answer, I didn't want to do the job anymore. It's the only reason I was doing the job. So I'm getting more anxious. I'm starting to get more depressed. I'm getting homesick every time I pack my bag. I just don't want to do it. So I start calling out of work. I start leaving the job site early. I start showing up late. And my rock bottom basement moment was I woke up in a hotel room in New Jersey. I was traveling there for work that week. Alarm clock went off at 5:15 or 5:30. I sat up. I slid to the edge of the bed. I was lacing up my work boots. And the best way to explain it is it felt like there was 10 televisions on in my head at the same time, and every single one was on a different station. And it was
that feeling, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I empathize with anybody who has felt it, and I hope if you haven't felt it, you don't, because it's not a great place to be, right?
It's a scary place because you don't know what the noise is or how to get rid of it. And you can't tell people about it either.
Luckily, I did.
Good.
That was a big piece for me. Is the first voice was, you're stuck at this job forever. You got lucky to get this job. You're never going to get lucky again.
Mm-hmm.
and luckier. It's not going to happen. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. If you ever did leave, what would your friends say? A lot of significance. I make a lot of money. There's significance in that.
Yeah.
What would your family say? I am the most successful person at the time in my family. So I feel like I'm doing something really good for my family. And then the loudest one was, are you going to be a podcaster? That's what you're going to leave a 6-figure job and go all in on this podcast thing? Doesn't seem very realistic.
And were you afraid of people making fun of you for that too? Like for stating out loud, like, no, I kind of want that to be my job.
Yeah. That was a discussion I had with people, and they were like, well, you're not going to be like Joe Rogan. That's not going to happen. It's like,
everybody fucking says that.
I know. And I don't want to be Joe Rogan. So joke's on you. That's
there's one Joe Rogan. That's enough. We're fine.
Yeah. That's not what I'm playing for. I'm playing for something different. So it was in that moment where I thought to myself, well, if I was just to take my life, I would take all my problems with me and I wouldn't have to worry about this. And luckily, I did have someone I felt safe reaching out to. So I reached out to my friend, who's now my business partner and the co-host of the podcast, and we've done almost 2,000 episodes together. So it's worked out quite well.
Yeah.
And I kind of just explained to him what was going on and how I was feeling, and I was just looking for a shoulder. And he gave me a very powerful but simple piece of advice. He said, Kev, over the last couple of years, your awareness has changed a ton, hyper conscious, acutely aware, but your environments have remained the same. I think it's time for you to change your environment. So 2 or 3 months later, I ended up leaving that job. And then him and I partnered up, and we tried to figure out how to turn the very small podcast that we went all in on together into a business. And then the next few years were worse because I was broke and trying to figure all this out. But
I feel you on that.
I know you. I know you too. I know. But when I left my job, my mental health got infinitely better.
Yep.
In terms of depression, my depression essentially went away. My anxiety got way worse.
Sure. The stress of not knowing where your money's going to come from. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of uncertainty there. But it was really the first time in my life that I had ever really felt what fulfillment was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really
satisfaction kind of. Yeah.
pride, like positive, healthy pride of like, oh, I'm doing something that is really deeply meaningful to me. And it's not about the money because there is none yet. So that's a big piece of it. So yeah, that's how we kind of got here. And then, so I've been doing this full time since 2018. And the first couple of years it was full-time effort plus overtime with no pay. But I think that's kind of how it goes in the beginning for almost everything you do.
Yeah, for real. I mean, and that's I love like that so much of what you do is helping other entrepreneurs, because that's really the reason I like to talk to entrepreneurs. And I call myself that because that's, I mean, technically what I am, but the spiritual growth that is required to be an entrepreneur, like that's the thing, because you cannot get over those fears and doubts without a little bit of like higher level of consciousness. Because like, even like I use astrology as a tool, and looking at my North Node, I was like, well, it says right here, that's your destiny. Go get on your fucking stage. Like, you just pretend to be that person until it feels like you're that person. Because I really did. And I wouldn't have said this as a conscious thought, but subconsciously somewhere I was terrified of being made fun of. Like I think it just made me feel the way elementary school made me feel when you just do all the dumbest shit. I mean, I wrote a book that the whole first chapter is about all the dumb shit I did in elementary school that just like traumatized my ass. But the place where you have to get to, where you find yourself and you come home to yourself and truly love yourself and accept you for who you are, and but also like willing to take those risks. I think that is all like a spiritual evolution. I felt really lucky because whenever I was going through my darkness and healing from that, I did have like a spiritual awakening. So I like fast forwarded so many things, but I quit my job with no fucking plan on, like, I had a little bit of a plan, but I was like, we got to hope that I get some therapy clients. And, you know, because I was like, I'll start a private practice. That's been slow going. But I remember when I still had the full-time job, being up till like 1 attempting to edit an episode. I knew nothing. Those early ones were so but I mean, I left them exactly how they are. Like it's been an evolution. And my thing was like, I already knew I didn't know how to do any of this. Like I didn't know. I Googled every little step, and I was like, you know what? Perfect is the enemy of good. I'm just going to go. I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be real. And I've really stuck with that format because I just like it so much better to just be me and not like try to edit around. Because at first, for real, the first episode tried to like not cuss a lot. And then after that, I was like, okay, in my real life, I cuss a lot. So I'm not going to like spend my time editing that out. I say a lot. I'm not wasting my time editing out you know, but I find that like people really resonate with authenticity, and I'm aligned with all of the things that matter the most to me. So I just love that you're helping others, because like on a podcast like mine, where it's really about the evolution of being vulnerable and whatever, it people can get lost in the sauce when they're just hearing about entrepreneurship. But I'm like, no, you don't understand what it takes. The dark night of the soul that has to happen with every entrepreneur. I've never met one that didn't have some deep, dark moment that just transformed everything. And I mean, I think I was watching entrepreneurs for a lot of years prior to, I mean, you know, I was watching all those Beachbody girls years ago. I knew what their shtick was, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I didn't want it for me, but I've watched lots of MLM people for years and years. And I was like, wow, they really transformed in like a year's time. Again, I never felt called to any of those things, but I definitely felt called to this and like just being me. But what do you think, what shifted to like, once you started making money, you got less anxiety, or like what shifted, like what shifted in you to kind of get to where you are now, even from those early days of the podcast?
No. I mean, when we started making more money, it definitely brought me more certainty. But
Security,
I think security. But honestly, and this is going to sound batshit crazy potentially, my anxiety started to go away when I worked on myself more. When I became more certain in who I was, and again, I'm not saying this is going to work for everybody. This is just my experience.
Right.
Take this with a grain of salt. What worked for me is every time I leveled up a little bit. I tried to do something that scared me. So I think most of my anxiety was fear-based.
Yeah.
It wouldn't just be like in the middle of the day, I'd get it. It was usually around things and circumstantially. So as my trauma response to the circumstances started to change, I just wouldn't get as anxious. So the thought I've always had is when you work really hard on the vessel, like I am the vessel. When I work really hard on the vessel and I work on the inside, I work on the outside, I look at the stuff that I don't want to look at. I look at the stuff that I love looking at. The external world just tends to affect you a little bit less.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
Not saying it's going to work that way for everybody. I mean, I've been doing pretty deep self-improvement essentially every day for the last 8 years. I mean, there's been so many things I did not want to learn about myself that I was forced to. So I think it's that. I think it was the evolution internally. To your point, I still do stuff that I don't know how to do. I just say yes and then figure it out. There's something to that. Now, again,
I agree. I'm not there yet, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not building planes. If I was building planes, that would not be my modus operandi. That wouldn't be the way it goes. But we're not playing with anybody's life here on the things that we do. So like I can test out some stuff and see how it works. And then I think the other thing is I've just been able to build up a really high level of self-trust through doing consistent behaviors. Again, essentially every day for the last 8 years. Now it's just, I know I can do it consistently.
Right. Oh my gosh. You saying I can do it consistently, like that just brings up so much for me because I remember when I finally understood for me what a fear of success was, because I had no doubt that I could build anything and get it to a certain level. I had a lot of doubt about my ability to sustain anything. Like, am I going to get too depressed and quit? Am I going to overthink? Am I going to self-sabotage? Am I going to anything? That was really big for me to overcome because I had to realize where all those fears were coming from and this baseline of feeling not enough. And that really fed into all of that because not enough is when you're like, the overwhelm is going to overtake me. And I was very much in that. So I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was a fear of failure until I started fear of success until I started working with my business partner. My deepest fear is failure.
Yeah.
Not good enough, not smart enough, not enough. We got to this place where it was weird because I was going out and trying to like really, really grow the business and make money. And my business partner, who is a legitimate genius, like wasn't doing that. And we sat down one day and we had a conversation and we got to the root of every time he grew when he was younger, every time he won an award, every time he started something and was really good at it, he got villainized by people.
Really?
That was one. And then every time he grew, he tended to outgrow the people closest to him. So he decided, and again, this is all subconscious. This is
sure. Yeah.
He decided that if I continue growing, I will end up alone. The only way for me not to end up alone is to dim my own light.
Make myself smaller to fit in other people's boxes.
100%. So together, I'm afraid of failure. Not as much now. He was afraid of success. Not as much now. We're kind of a perfect combination where I have to keep up with him if I want to stay here. So he's never going to outgrow me all the way. And he's a really good number one for me to follow. So it's a really good thing. But to your point, we are very often playing with our parts of not enough, too much, all the time. We're always having deep conversations about that because we're leading this company. We work very, very, very closely together. And if I don't know him at the deepest level and he doesn't know me at the deepest level, this isn't really going to work at the level we want, right? For us, it's not just a business, it's a mission.
Right, because what you're doing is it's not just surface level. Like
no.
Yeah, you've had to do work on yourselves, within yourselves, outside of yourself to get to where you are. So yeah, to continue to have any level of success professionally, that's the road you have to continue on.
Yes. Yes. And that's the one we're committed to, and we happen to have a self-improvement company. So it works out nicely, but
Yeah, but that's so cool. Like,
it's the
how
best.
aligned do you feel like every day? And you know pretty quickly when you're doing something that's not aligned for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We sit down and I'll say, dude, I'm just not fulfilled, man. I'm like, I'm miserable. Now, again, we work a lot and we do an episode every day. Like it's a lot of work, but when the work is aligned, it's more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not fulfilling, there's a conversation about what does that mean? What can we switch? Are we in a season where we just have to suck it up for a little bit? We have a lot of those conversations pretty often.
Yeah. And do you guys, I mean, I would assume that you have pretty similar philosophies in terms of rest, recovery, business, all of it. Like you don't tend to disagree a lot.
No, I can count. I mean, we'll have gentle debates, but for us, it's not about me being right. It's not about him being right. It's about getting the right answer. Whatever the right answer is, let's move forward with that. But I think it's really core values. So what do you value as a human being? What's important to you? Core beliefs. What do you believe about yourself, others, the world, the way the world's supposed to work? And then core aspirations. For us, those are very much in alignment, but I've had friendships in the past where their core aspirations and my core aspirations they weren't in alignment. I can't just hang out on a Tuesday and go get lunch. That's not the way my life, so this has been a very important discovery for me, at least. If there's some level of resistance in a relationship, I think there's 3 places you can look: core values, core beliefs, core aspirations. If your core belief is we're supposed to have sex every night and your partner's core belief is not that is a potential for resistance. And you can have a conversation about it. And I think most people don't. I think it's usually like, you're different than I am. This is never going to work.
Yeah.
It can get there, obviously. But yeah, those are the 3 things that I think have helped us in our business relationship. But my wife and I mean, we have very similar core values and core beliefs. We have different core aspirations.
Yeah.
But there's a way to mesh them together.
Absolutely. And gosh, it's funny how your aspirations can change too, just after it did. Like your aspiration was, the core of your aspiration was no longer to be wealthy. It was to be satisfied and fulfilled. Then when you get there, we're not going to sit here and say we don't want to make the money. We do. So, but I'm all about making the money in a way that feels good every time I'm doing something to make the money. But I can remember, it's funny because my husband was really watching tons of personal development far longer and before me. And I was like, yeah, great. Like, I will, like, I don't know if you know who Josh Latimer is, but he's somebody that my husband follows, and he's got this like whole family full. It's kind of like Grant Cardone. They got this whole family of little entrepreneurs, whatever. It's not my jam, but I like them as people, I guess. But like, it's not content for me. But it's all about like the whole family unit, achieving, growing, succeeding together. And I was like, yeah, that's great. As soon as you care about our family's emotional well-being, I'll get on board with our family's financial well-being. And then the more work I've had to do internally, the more I'm like, okay, well, I'm on this entrepreneur road. So, I mean, I feel you. But then like, he's still not over some of those, like, because he is self-employed. He's had his own business for years. And, those guys did help him get there by, him listening to them. But I'm like, okay, but what trajectory are you on now? Because you're still, I hear all your limiting beliefs. I hear whatever. Like, you need to start lying to yourself or something, because like, you're still this person. And now I'm on board with it, like, I'm not going to join their program or anything, but like, I'm like, yes, let's all work together, because there's a way I have found to feel aligned in that path, because I'm doing the work I want to do, but also it's entrepreneurship. I mean, period. But anyway, he's like, it's funny because he still listens to a lot of those guys that he's been listening to for years. And I was so resistant. And I would say that our core aspirations are very similar now, but I remember stressing when they weren't. Like, man, dude, we are really different people. Like, I just don't know. I mean, coming to find out when you do the work, you realize like, anyone in your energy is not that different than you, or you wouldn't have called them into your energy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're actually perfect mirrors for each other, him and I, but it took a really long time for me to be like, oh, I do that too, actually. My bad. My bad. But honestly, that was the biggest key for me, was learning that, like, when you find all this love and compassion for yourself, you can see the you in others. Like, you start to go, oh shit, I do that too. I was really hard
Yeah.
on you about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's helped me a lot with the fear of judgment, because I was never the guy who I would never message you and say like, hey, you suck. I would never do that. But there was a part of me that would villainize people that had what I wanted and didn't have yet. So anytime that
Absolutely.
happens to me, it's like, yeah, I try to empathize with the fact that maybe you're struggling right now, and it looks like I'm not. Trust me, I am struggling, just in different ways.
Yeah.
I think what you said about you were using your husband and you as an example. I think we tend to be really good at, so inner world, outer world. Some people are really freaking good at the inner world. Unfortunately, sometimes that comes at the expense of the outer world and external success. Opposite front, some people are really good at external success, but they're not necessarily fulfilled. They don't really understand alignment. They're not necessarily spiritually connected. I think when people think of balance, that's really what they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
I'm really good at the inner world, but I'm also really good at the outer world. The problem is we tend to be attracted to what we're already good at.
So true.
That's one of the struggles. Is there's a joke. So I'm a bodybuilder. There's a joke in the bodybuilding community of most people skip leg day.
Yeah.
Why? Because most people are bad at legs. They have weak legs, and it sucks. Leg day kind of sucks. That's kind of how I think many of us live our lives. And then you can dig and say, okay, well, what is it about the external world that I like because I'm good at it? Well, I'm good at it. I have a lot of proof. I've probably already knocked down most of my limiting beliefs if I've gotten results there. Okay. Why do I hate the inner world so much? Maybe it seems too woo-woo, right? Maybe I have a connection to the fact that anytime I've ever talked to somebody who is more inner world, they always tell me I work too much, but I'm like very fulfilled by the amount of work I do. So you can see how it gets super, super confusing, but that is such a common thing. I've worked with so many people who are so good at the inner world, and they say, yeah, I don't know. I don't really think I'm valuable, and I don't think I should charge anybody for my services. Of course you should. You're adding massive value to their lives.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, I've worked with a lot of people who are very good at external success who just don't understand why they should slow down a little bit and like just meditate and see what happens. I'm not saying you have to do it every day on the top of a mountain. Just see what happens. There could be lessons there, but I think the thing that you don't understand is usually the thing that you tend to avoid, but you're also avoiding all the lessons in there as well. And again, I'm as guilty of this as any human walking the planet for sure.
Yeah. And do you think that gratitude like, I feel like I found gratitude in the presence and mindfulness, because I was actually, the episode of mine that's airing tomorrow, I was talking to somebody who does tarot, and I was kind of like, yo, I've been manifesting. I ain't seeing shit, and so, oh shit. She was like, yeah, you got to build a really firm foundation of gratitude first. And I was like, well, I feel like I am like grateful, whatever. But what I realized is every time money would come in, I would only be like, oh my God, yay, for like a nanosecond. And then the next second, I'm like, does that mean more's coming in? Like, oh, yay, is it finally happening? Whatever. And looking for the future, like about everything. And I swear to God, the last 3.5 weeks of my life since I spoke with her have fucking changed so much, because I was like, and I preach mindfulness. I really do. But I didn't realize this was another area that I was avoiding certain things. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, let's slow down. Let's get grateful. And I really like just created more of like a microcosm where I was like, we don't fucking worry about yesterday, tomorrow, this morning, or tonight. Like, we are right here in this moment, and being so grateful for all of my needs in this moment are met, because where the fear was coming in was like, sure, this money helps for that need, but like at what point is, us going at this pace with this income, whatever, gonna like fuck us over, right? Like it was always just, oh my God, what's coming? And now like the peace I feel just being right in the moment, and like everything I need is taken care of right now, and I don't have to worry about how the next need's going to get met. I do believe firmly it will be. So like I'm just so present, and it has really cultivated gratitude. Did you feel like that happened for you too?
Yes, and gratitude for me never helped me create more. What it did, and you used the word, it created a foundation. So I think one of the things that many of us are looking for, let's say you wake up every day and the first thing you do is you say your gratitudes. What I think you're ultimately doing is you're getting rid of scarcity, and you're maintaining abundance, which then allows you to do the things necessary in order to grow.
Because it relieves your fear too.
Yes. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think really happens. Because for me, I've worked with a lot of people who, for them, gratitude has the result of potentially limiting ambition. I think that is very, very...
I can see what you're saying.
Right? That can be very, very dangerous, just because I want you to be grateful for everything that you have. But if you do aspire to more, I just want to make sure that your ambition is there.
Right.
Right?
Yes, because I definitely know people. I don't want to call anyone out, and I don't think they listen anyway, but like I know this couple who refer to themselves as simple all the time. Like, well, we're just simple people, blah, blah, blah. And one day I finally said, I'm really curious about why the word simple is in the center of your identity. And the wife was like, well, probably because I don't feel that great about myself. And I was like, okay, thank you for saying that. Like, I'm so proud of you for saying that, because I knew that, but like, don't act like you don't want more. I mean, first of all, they have a lot. I mean, like it's not about what they have, but you can tell they're comparing themselves to someone whose life must look better than theirs. And I know internally there's some shit that they don't feel good about too, but I'm like, so you're just keeping yourself in this box to not grow either internally or externally, because you have found this identity of simple, and it really is a cushion for them. And I've known lots of people, I love a hippie. I'm kind of fucking hippie myself, but like, you get your baby little hippie and they're like, I got everything I need. And I'm like, that's good for you. That's so good. If that's truly how you feel living in a dugout, in Missouri, that's great. But I don't find that most people mean it. I find that they somewhere in childhood decided no one's ever fucking letting me down again, and I'm never getting my hopes up again. Like, I do believe there are people who don't have a desire to be millionaires. I believe that, and just want to do work that fulfills them and whatever. I believe that, but I really haven't met very many people on a personal level where the shit they're saying about being completely fucking satisfied with everything being 100% truth for them. I really don't think so.
Yeah, no, I've had a similar experience. I think it's easier to say, and again, these will all be blanket statements, so we'll pick from them.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think it's way easier to say I have everything I need instead of saying, honestly, I do aspire to have a lot more. I just don't know how to get it. It's way easier just to throw that other thing out there. I'm sure I've done that. I remember, this is a really good example, really good, but really silly. When I was in like middle school, I was dating, and by dating, like we maybe sat across from each other.
You saw each other at lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Maybe we held hands once or twice.
We called that going out.
Going steady, I think people say too, right?
That was in the 50s. Don't age me that bad.
Never would I dare. One day, so I was dating a very popular girl in school. One day I was walking back from lunch, and my buddy said, dude, did you hear? She's breaking up with you. And I was like, I don't care. You think I care? I cared.
You cared so fucking much.
I was devastated. But instead of admitting that, I just went to my locker or whatever. because I think sometimes admitting it is way harder than just masking it with something else and hoping somebody doesn't ask that question. Yeah, we're
Right.
just, we're just simple people. What does that mean to you exactly? Shit.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
just like in the preamble, you said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Living the dream." And you say you live in your dream or somebody else's. Luckily for me, I'm in a very good place right now. But if you called that out on me and I was in a bad place, I might have villainized you. Said,
Yeah.
who does she think she? We just met. Who do you think
This
you are?
bitch.
Right? So
Yeah.
I just think, but if you really think about it, if you don't have a gratitude practice, will anything ever be enough?
Right. That's where, and that was my point, was
Yes.
nothing was enough because I wasn't, I mean, when you're having to pay your car payment late because you don't make the money you used to make, it's fucking stressful. And that's where I was 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? And I'll say I'm not there right now. And I'm fucking grateful for that. But nothing's really changed that much outside of me. Honestly, I'm not afraid. Like, I was living in this contracted, bracing way without even really being conscious of it. But I had hit this kind of plateau of peace. Like, I wasn't feeling joy on the regular. And I was like, I can't put my finger on it, but I'm missing something here. And that's what I feel so good about, is I'm back in my peace. I'm back in my joy, because I've never had a doubt that the things I want are going to happen. I've never had a doubt. I'm really delusional that way. And I love that. I love that for me. But not seeing it in this reality was pretty fucking stressful. And so, that hasn't changed. I haven't made 6 figures. My podcast is not monetized yet. I believe it will be one day in some capacity, but it's not. But I have changed because I did build that foundation, and it does relieve the fear, because I'm not questioning. I'm not out there fucking chasing a dollar. First of all, doing shit that I'm not super passionate about because it can make a little bit of money. I'm doing the things that I need to do to get the outcomes that I want. But I kind of decided early on, I got really busy for a couple of weeks when I started my practice, and I was like, okay, I worked 3 evenings in a row, and the third evening I walked in the living room, and the only person awake still was my husband. And I was so fucking sad because my kids had gone to bed. I mean, they're older and whatever, but I still was I missed out on everything tonight in the last few days. And so I decided right then, I'm setting my schedule as if I am making the money that I want, because I'm not going to have time to do the things that I need to do if I get bogged down with the things that are certain for income. I love being a therapist, but I'm not chasing clients that way. And actually, the offers that I just created, it took me so long to get there because I had this blockage, because I was like, I don't fucking want a ton more one-on-one recurring clients. It takes up a lot of time. But I was like, oh my God, what if you just do one-time guidance with people instead of trying to be everyone's therapist? Do this, and ethically I can charge a higher price point. So that's what I'm doing, because I am valuable. My services are really valuable. I see the difference in my therapy clients, but I can't call some of the other stuff therapy because of, guidelines and, licensing standards. But I have a therapeutic background. I have other things, whatever. But it took working through those things to get to oh, okay, that's what I want to do. Because I didn't understand my hesitance, because I do love one-on-one interactions. But I was like, I only had about 7 hours left in the week to be able to do that. And I'm like, 7 clients at what I'm getting paid right now isn't going to get me where I'm trying to go. So I was like, oh, one-time sessions. And that's great, because I love getting to meet new people instead of always having the same amount of people every week, and I kind of like the chaos of never knowing if someone's going to cancel or, I don't get too bogged down in all that. But I think that's been really helpful for me, is to set the schedule and work within that, because burnout is real, man. It doesn't matter if you love what you're doing or not. If you're not resting and taking breaks, I've been fucking at it hardcore for 3 weeks now, since I've fucking joined Podmatch and I'm going on other people's shows now. I'm tired. I'm fucking tired. But I knew that, and I was like, okay, this weekend I got to rest a little bit. I cannot just use my brain for this 24/7. But are you still like, do you still have like an insanely busy schedule? You seem like someone who likes that though. Do you kind of thriving in a chaotic environment?
Yeah, I do pretty well with that. Things get I start to feel weird when things are like too quiet. You can feel the energy. I don't know. I don't know if you feel this, but like there are certain days where I wake up and I can be like, yeah, it's gonna be a slow day. Just feel it. Just feel the energy. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, we have a 16-person team right now. We produce 57 other podcasts.
Damn.
I'm leading that department. We have a social media team. I lead that. Yeah. So it's mayhem. But to your point, my days are, I go to the gym every day, almost 6 days a week at least. And 90% of the time I have at least 2 hours a night with my wife. So
yeah.
And Sundays I don't work. Sundays are off. It's family day. But I think if anything, I'm way more regimented, which might seem way more constricted, but it's based on the fact that exercise is a super important thing to me.
Right.
And seeing my wife every night is a super important thing to me. Those are at the beginning and end of my day. The rest of the day essentially is mayhem for the most part. I don't leave Monday through Saturday. The only thing I do is go to the gym. I don't leave the house under any circumstances really other than that.
Yeah.
Sunday's date day, so we go out, but yeah, it's kind of mayhem. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I totally know what you mean. But I was somebody who used to really thrive on that level of structure, but I find now that like I have an outline and I kind of just follow the energetics, because some days you do wake up and your body is screaming at you like, I am weary, and I'm like, I remember like a week and a half of taking all of my recordings and therapy in my bed because I was wiped out, just so exhausted. I don't even remember what was going on. And then I had the flu and it took forever to recover. I was like, boy, the flu over 40 is not a joke. I kind of understand what the big deal is now, because used to I'd be like, it's just the flu. Well, I had only had it once in my life when I was 8. And that was a very different experience. But the recovery time from that, I had to be like, y'all, I'm sorry, I'm real tired. I got to stay here in my bed. But I mean, also, who fucking cares? But, if you know that you're a person who thrives off knowing what your day, that you've got this, and this, and this, and this. I mean, I think that's great that you're at least fitting in time with your wife and a Sunday.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's all about core values and core beliefs. I work a lot, but I don't want to work till 9 o'clock every night. Like tonight I'll be working till 8. So tonight's going to be like, today's a really long day. But they're not as common as they once were, and I can plan better with my wife, and I do really well with certainty. I like to know where I'm at, what time this is. Like that is something that works really, really well for me. And I am a homebody, and believe it or not, I am an introvert. So for me, I don't have to see people. I can be in the office all day. It doesn't bother me. If anything, this is like what I kind of wanted to design my life around in the first place.
Right. So is your studio at home? Do you work out of your house? Yeah. And I totally get that because, well, first of all, I never really knew that I was an introvert, because if I know you, this is the type of conversation we're going to have. But it started to make sense. Like, oh, I hate small talk. That makes sense. I'm incredibly shy. Like if you put me in a social situation with a lot of people I don't know, I'm not saying shit unless someone approaches me. I mean, that's just how it is, like every time. So like, I found a little more peace when I had less people around me, because I'm home by myself most of the day. And even like when the kids are out of school or whatever, I'm in my room. This is where I'm at, and I think that really helps too. If you know what you need and you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses and you work with that, resistance is the thing that keeps us stuck in any way. So why go against your natural needs and wants?
Yeah. I think the ultimate goal is to shine them up. That's it. Just make them nice, shine them up, improve on them, and then mitigate your weaknesses. Let's find a way to improve the opportunities for improvement. But yeah, my business partner is an engineer. I tried to be him for the first few years.
Yeah.
He tried to be me. And we've had that conversation. He said, Kev, it makes me sad that I don't know if I'll ever be liked to the level you are. Like, well, I appreciate that vulnerability. I said, it used to make me sad that I'll never be as smart as you. Now I don't want to be.
Right.
And I understand that I'm not going to, that's not what I'm here to do. Just like he's not here to be liked by everybody. It's not what he's here to do. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it is. But yeah, I agree. We work so hard to change ourselves.
Yes.
But I don't know if we ever really give ourselves the credit for the stuff that we're really good at, that it doesn't need changing. Maybe it needs a remodel or a readjustment or a shine up or a detail, whatever it is. And everybody has something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're so right. I mean, I think in any stage of personal development, when you finally hit the place where you're like, I'm kind of just fine exactly like this. Like, yeah, I'm going to grow and evolve as a human because that's what we do here. But I don't have to keep chasing some destination of healed or better or any of those things. I can just sit in this moment and be like, I'm pretty good, man. Like, yes, there's things that I'm not great at, and I'm okay with that. And I don't want to surround myself with people in any way, near or far, that are around because I've given them some false perception of who I am, you know? And I think the more you lean into just, yeah, this is my strength, this is my weakness, the more aligned you are with the people that you surround yourself with.
I agree. Yeah. And I think you have to admit what you really want out of life. You said this earlier. I don't think not everybody should be a millionaire. I don't think they should, because what it would take you, not that I'm saying you're not capable, not that I'm saying you're not worthy, not that I'm saying you couldn't do it. It would be out of alignment for you to make the sacrifices that might be necessary for you in order to accumulate $1 million. And the sad truth is you might regret it. I think we have to be, especially as entrepreneurs, it's brave to say, like, honestly, I don't want to make $1 million. Because there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, you're thinking too small. No,
yes,
I just know myself. And again, I want to make a lot of money so I can add a lot of value to the world. And I want to donate like a very large sum of money. So I got to make a lot of money or I'm going to go bankrupt. But I'm not that entrepreneur who says, well, you're thinking too small. Now, if you come to me and you have 10 out of 10 self-belief, maybe you could think bigger if it's in alignment with your core values, your core beliefs. But I think it's all a self-awareness thing. I do. And I think that's what a good coach does. Not only does a good coach help you accomplish your goals, a good coach helps you figure out whether or not they're aligned in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
It'll save you a lot of pain and a lot of regret if they know how to do that.
Well, the unfortunate part about what you just said is that I'm seeing in the uptick of coaching, I'm seeing a lot of activating language that gets people in front of you, but like, baby, not every coach is aligned for you specifically. And like, I find myself, I'm much less triggered by some of the language now because I'm like, that was the point, Melissa. That's fine. That's them. And you move the fuck on. But I'm worried for some of the people because you can't lie to yourself enough to do things out of alignment with who you are and get to where this coach is saying that you're going to get. Like, you may be very financially successful. Sure. I'm not going to say you won't be if you follow XYZ. But like, I was talking to a girl the other day who does human design, and she's like, yeah, I had a coach who was like, speak to 8 to 10 people every day. She's like, it fucking worked. I mean, it did. Like, she's like, she knew what she was talking about, and I did it, and I was whatever. But then, like, 6 weeks later, I am so burnt out and tired. She knows that she's a person who has to have a lot of rest breaks and whatever. But that, like, you have to get to know who you are pretty well so that you can be like, that doesn't work for me. And if you don't have a tailored coaching program, then maybe we aren't meant to work together.
Yep. Yeah. Strategy is strategy, and it gets more specific depending on the person. Like,
absolutely.
That's a really big piece of it. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, you don't want what I have. I promise you don't. You don't. I think it sounds really cool. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of accolades, and I'm super grateful. But to maintain that level is absolutely mayhem. And
right. You're like, I'm built different. Okay. Like
I'm
that's
not saying,
not for
I'm
everyone.
not saying, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is my core values, my core beliefs, and my core aspirations are all very aligned in this. And I'm not under the misconception that my life's going to get easier.
Right.
In order to get to where we want to get to, the next 30 years are going to be really, really, really hard. I don't want anybody else to sign up for that if that's not exactly what they want.
Right.
Right. That's obviously a big piece of it. And this is the other thing too about the coaching space. You get me fired up on this. People sell the anomalies. So I hesitate. If anybody is out there and they're looking for a coach, this is what I would avoid. Anybody who claims to have a one size fits all guaranteed results program, because that's not the way it works. We have launched hundreds of podcasts. I have launched several podcasts that are in the top 10 in the world in their category. Do you know who did most of the work? The client who grew a social media following to 200,000 followers in the last 10 years. That had very little to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
But Melissa, I could make an ad right now. We helped blank person launch a top 5 podcast in the relationship category, and it took them none of their time. Well, it took them 10 years behind the scenes, but don't worry about that. People tend to sell the anomalies.
Yeah.
The anomalies are very, very, very rare. As a podcast, we are the anomaly. We are an absolute anomaly. Where we are, most people don't get to. If I sat here and said, Melissa, after this call, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to get to where we are, that would be a blatant lie.
Yes, it would.
It just would be. Now, I could tell you many things, and I could tell you strategies, and I could tell you frameworks and all that, but the truth of the matter is it might not be good for you to try to get to where we are. So if you're out there and you're looking for a coach, somebody says, I have a guaranteed one size fits all, it's probably not going to work. If you've ever bought a one size fits all garment,
I was
shirt,
thinking
pants,
the
whatever,
exact same thing.
they never fit perfectly. Because they couldn't. It doesn't work that way.
That is so true. I was picturing like a poncho. That's not fitting very well because it fits all.
It does the trick.
Right.
It does.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to do what its intended purpose was.
Yeah, but it's not. You're not going to wear it to dinner, most likely.
Probably not. Probably not a fancy one. Maybe in your living room,
well,
or
you
know, the grocery store. We don't know.
Head on over to Burger King, like whatever. You want to wear it to Burger King? I support that.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I've had such a good time with you.
Same, my
and
friend.
If you want anything specific to be included in my show notes or whatever, feel free to send it over. Otherwise, you've got a pretty easy profile to work with. So well, I was like, oh damn, and you can save this picture. Hell yeah. I don't even have to ask you for anything.
It's all set up. I appreciate you having me. It's wonderful. I feel like you and I are friends, even though we just met. We get along really well. So I appreciate you having me very much.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. Maybe we can collaborate with something in the future.
I'm in. Let me know.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hey, if you have not provided this podcast with a rating, please go do that now. If you find me on social media, you can see my link tree and it will take you to both Spotify or Apple for you to leave a review and a rating. 5-star, obviously, so much. Okay. Also, on that link tree, you can get to my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, where you can sign up for a one-on-one session with me. I'm calling these guidance sessions because I will utilize my therapeutic background along with tarot and astrological insights if you're comfy and guide you to the life that you're in love with. And if none of my current offers are within your budget, please don't hesitate to select the complimentary session option. I created that option as part of a commitment to my community and to access to mental health care. And I want to make sure that people are using that. So feel free to refer that link out to anyone that you want to. It is a one-time only. All of these sessions are like a one-time so that I can make a bigger impact with one-time sessions versus recurring sessions. So you can see my menu on my website, and you will also see workbooks and membership communities available, so I hope you'll check it out.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.